Hello and welcome once again to gamersireland.ie, the retro review. We are we're nearly the halfway point on our look at the Batman games. We're going to have a look at the last of the original Batman movie game that we're going to cover, which is the Game Boy version. And it was the license attached to the Tim Burton Batman film. It's a great little game. It came out, around about the very early in the life of the Game Boy, and yeah, it does look like a teensy tiny little Batman there, but surprisingly playable. It's before I think they really get the hang of what you could do, what you couldn't do with the Game Boy. Back when a lot of games were kind of very Super Mario Brothers style, but very very good. One of my favourites when it comes to handheld Batman games. We're going to have a look next at Batman Returns. This was the second Tim Burton film, came out in 1991, 92, off the top of my head, can't remember which. First up, I wanted to have a look at the Atari links. Now, the problem was, unfortunately, with a bit of technical difficulty, and it would not emulate me whatsoever. Now, I was tempted to actually whip out the links and just videotape it, but it's a bit messy to look at, so I may do a little mini review of it again sometime, because it's a good little beat 'em up. It's very very good graphics. I love the links. It's one of my favourite handhelds, and as you can see the graphics were very good. Apologies again at cheating a bit there. Next up, we're going to look at the Master System version of Batman Returns. Now, a platformer, but very 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 hard, and it gave the option of picking routes, so you could pick which levels you wanted to go through. I originally was going to use the second route, but it was so bloody hard that literally I spent the first screen dying. So I'll show you really quickly here. As with most of the platforming games, you've got a grappling gun. You spend more time swinging around in the air than Spider-Man, even though you're Batman. And the Batarang gets a hell of a lot of use. It's one of the few Batman Returns games you'll see that isn't a beat 'em up. Now that we're hanging there. But quite enjoyable. Oh, lots of hanging around. That worked out pretty well. Yeah, it's enjoyable, but it's one of those games that's very satisfying in the sense that it's so bloody hard that you get an amazing sense of relief and joy at finishing it. And it loves its making you use the old grappling hook there. So next up, we're going to look at something a bit more traditional. We are going to have a quick look at the Batman Returns game on the NES. Now, this was handled by Konami, and they basically decided to take them into pure beat 'em up mode, and it works pretty well. So we'll just wait until I die horribly here, and we'll move on to the NES version. Okay, this is the NES version of Batman Returns, and as you can probably see, it's a beat 'em up. Yes, again, yet another one that kind of focuses on the fact that Batman dresses in leather and beats the crap out of bad guys. And it's a good game though. It's Konami. It's a Konami game, and Konami very very good at the old beat 'em ups. It's kind of their thing. This one it plays like a version of Double Dragon. If you remember the kind of the arcade beat 'em up, which I'll probably be looking at some point in great detail. But you got a good range of moves. You got your Batarang, you got your grappling hook, the slide kick if I remember rightly. So it's like, you don't get too bored. Unfortunately, the one thing where it differs from Double Dragon is that they're just Batman. I think in the movies at this stage they hadn't really kind of got to the Robin stage yet. So unless you take a leaf out of the old, if you've ever seen the old Superman arcade machine, it gets around the whole two-player thing by just having a second Superman appear and having a slightly different costume, Sapperman or something, Uberman. I don't think there was even a plot explanation. It was just you got to play with another Superman. But yeah, good beat 'em up, and well worth checking out. Next up, we are going to look at the Super Nintendo version of Batman Returns. Now, you're going to see some similarities, but we shall move swiftly on and look at that. Ooh, the lovely Konami's starting screen. So, obviously, Super Nintendo, better video and audio capabilities. But it's a similar enough kind of game. You're looking at oh, here we go, the kind of lovely Batman music and the graphic intro that we're just going to skip. But you're going to see now, it's very similar. If the NES version was similar to Double Dragon, this is really similar to Final Fight. If you remember the again, another two-player beat 'em up. Now, as I mentioned, it's Batman. He works on his own. He beats guys up on his own. But it's nice and varied. Again, similar to the NES version, you got a ton of moves, and you got your Batarang, and you got your grappling hook, and a few other bits and bobs. One thing you will see an awful lot, I think I've mentioned this already, is that up until, retro consoles tended to really focus on the whole Batman beating the crap out of people. The whole detective thing kind of cropped up a little bit on the microcomputers. There's a great DOS version. No, I don't actually have it here, but there's a great DOS version of Batman Returns where you actually, it's kind of like an interactive movie kind of thing. You drive around the city and you have to find clues and what have you, interrogate people, all this kind of stuff. And it's really focusing more on the, brains over brawn thing. But here, we're just going slowly, we're beating the crap out of people. And it does a great job on it too. Was it kind of grappling hook thing? Yes, my one Achilles heel are, beat 'em ups where you have to fight people on motorbikes. They always run me over. Oh, so you got a rocket launcher. There we go, take him out. So the Batman Returns movie spawned a hell of a lot of games. We're going to look at two more in a minute, but let's just enjoy seeing Batman beat the crap out of people. Next up, we're looking at the Mega CD version. Back in the early 90s, Sega brought out a CD-based add-on for the Mega Drive. Now, a lot of the games were basically just Mega Drive games with a bit of extra full-motion video or whatever, but the Batman Returns games is very good. What it did was, it took the Mega Drive game, which we're going to look at in a minute, which the Mega Drive one is just a platformer, and adds on these really, really cool racing sections. And you basically race through the streets of Gotham, the streets of Gotham, and take out bad guys. It kind of plays out a cross between the old Atari Racer, Road Blasters, and Road Rash, and it's really, really good and nice and fast as well. And it's a pity that most people didn't really get to see this because the Mega CD was fairly pricey, and there wasn't a huge take-up of it. Well, not in Ireland and Britain, there wasn't a massive take-up of it. So it's most people wouldn't have seen this at all back in the days. Which is a pity because, as you can see, it's a really good, fast little racing game. So we'll have a look at the... when you play this, by the way, you had an option of just playing the racing sections if you wanted, or just playing the Mega Drive game, which is the platformer. We're going to look at this now. So the Mega Drive version was a pretty solid little platformer. We'll just see it now. Graphically, it was great, and other than making a few changes to the film, because... I don't really remember him attacking gargoyles in the film. It's pretty good. And that's the grappling hook. They just love the grappling hook. So it's a good little game. Again, if you had the money, you'd get the Mega CD one for the extra driving bits. But if you didn't, you do pretty well with this. Next up, we're going to look at... We've finished with the Batman Returns games. There was a hell of a lot of them. But next up we're looking at the animated series. Now in the early 90s, the Batman movies had managed to spawn this kind of really, really cool animated series. And it was really, that is really kind of Art Deco style, and it was quite dark for a kid's cartoon, and it was actually really enjoyable. Good thing I've actually watched them as an adult, and they're actually pretty good as well. So obviously, since it was popular and since there was no movies to base it on at the time, there was a couple of games came out. So we're gonna look at them now. So this is the Super Nintendo animated game. It's actually the Batman Robin version, which is a kind of later version. And it's kind of beat 'em. It's a combination this time. It's a beat 'em up and a platformer, and it's pretty good. There's a kind of little puzzly element to it as well, but it's all about the beating the bad guys up and using the gadgets. And as you can see, it looks lovely. The style that you can see here is very reminiscent of the actual animated series. There was a Game Boy game as well, similar enough to this. And there's a Mega Drive one too, and the Mega Drive is rarer than hen's teeth. If you ever see it going with a car boot sale, snap it up, because you'll be able to sell it on eBay for lots and lots of moolah. So, it's basically running around, trying not to die and beat the bad guys up. Oh, he's got a machine gun, Batman, watch out. Now, yes, okay, obviously this is a long way from the likes of Arkham City, but we're getting there. Slowly but surely, all the pieces are coming in. For example, here's an interesting and totally useless bit of information. Harley Quinn didn't exist in the comics. She was actually added in as part of the animated series. And there you go. And obviously she crops up now. She's actually in the comics as well now, as far as I know. She's been written in, but she originally cropped up as part of this animated series. And yeah, obviously in the Arkham City games. So there you go, a little bit useless bit of information. Okay, last one we're looking at today is the Sega CD, or Mega CD, if you're from our neck of the woods, animated series, Batman and Robin. As you can see, this is actually interesting. It plays, it's a little bit like the Mega CD version of Batman Returns. But rather than being a Road Blasters kind of game, this is more like Chase HQ. You basically drive through the streets, you have a couple of racing sections, and then you have to take a kind of boss car every couple of levels. It's kind of odd in that you don't walk around as Batman. It's purely about driving the Batmobile. There's no platform section, there's no beat 'em up sections, no point and click adventure. It's just purely about the racing. But it's a good game. The other really cool thing about this is that the cutscenes between each levels are made up of these really, really cool full motion video. It's really similar to the animated series. It's unique. It was basically made for this game, and if you put them all together, and I think they're on YouTube if you have a look around. But apparently I should stop hurting the civilians there. If you put them all together, it plays out like an episode of the animated series, and it's really good indeed. I'm going to play out in a minute with the intro to this, by the way. But it's well worth checking out. Unfortunately, a lot of these games, I don't think really, as far as I'm aware, most of them won't crop up in the likes of the virtual consoles or the Xbox Arcade or PlayStation Network at the moment. It's unfortunately that with these kind of things you deal with a lot of licensing, but you can get them on eBay, or if you want to be a bit naughty, you can emulate them. So listen, we're going to leave you with the intro to the Batman animated, and next time we're going to be looking at the PlayStation era and some stuff like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. But anyway, enjoy.